Game days for the Edmonton Oilers, which means back-to-back giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford with Tyler, with producer Liam, with me, Caroline, and Tyler. What's up?
I'm glad you introed yourself as well.
Yeah,
Sure, people.
I don't know. It's one of those days. Honest to God, 5 seconds ago I was half asleep, so this is my energy boost. Why not intro myself into the show? Tyler, what's going on today?
Hey, not a lot. Back-to-back games. We were talking about how much we don't like this because we feel like we're just going to talk about the same stuff we did yesterday. So we'll be relying on comments. Let us know what you think about that game last night. I mean, for me, you roll into Colorado. That was the Avalanche's 30th home game of the season, and only 7 teams have taken a point or more from the Avs in those 30 home games. The Oilers are now one of them. So I don't know. I think that's good. It's good to me.
It's so funny because I was feeling really calm yesterday. I don't know what it was, but I was like, I didn't know if I thought we were going to win, but I didn't think we'd get blown out. And I know that our 5-game winning streak has been snapped, but I thought that the boys came out and battled hard with, like we said yesterday in our pregame show, with elite company. That is the Colorado Avalanche, and a team that, a lot of people are saying is going to win the cup and a strong playoff contender.
Yeah, like I said, they're not only tops of their division, tops of the conference, they're tops in the league, and at 5-on-5, the Oilers outplayed them. That's a really impressive mark. The shots for, shots against at 5-on-5 in that hockey game were 19-16 for the Oilers. Their special teams needed to be better, and that's something we've been talking about pretty much since Jay Woodcroft took over, since before then even. It's been 3 or 4 months now of talking about how the special teams needs to get better because the Oilers got 2 goals at even strength, and then it was Rantanen on the power play twice. Rantanen scored twice on the power play. So if your penalty kill would have been able to come through for you, that very well could have been like a 2-0 or a 2-1 win. Oilers power play goes 0 for 2. If your power play comes through for you once, you're winning that game in regulation. So not a lot to complain about. 1 point, like Genesis says in the Twitch chat, 1 point's almost a win. Yeah. And when you look at the fact that Vegas lost as well, you came out of a day where you were playing a really, really good team, and you still gained more ground on the team you're trying to stay ahead of.
You mentioned Vegas. They play again tonight, which is important for us too, right, Tyler? Who are they playing tonight?
Yeah, tonight they're in action against against the Winnipeg Jets. So Vegas, again, no Robin Leonard. They're banged up. They got like $40 million on the IR, and they got to play the second of back-to-backs tonight. And you look at the playoff situation, Nashville's taking on LA as well. San Jose, Calgary's in action again. St. Louis is in action. They're still, might be in the hunt for a wild card spot. But the big ones you want to keep an eye on are LA and Vegas, because if Edmonton can win tonight and LA and Vegas loses, all of a sudden Edmonton is in sole possession of second place in the Pacific Division and would control their own fate in terms of getting home ice in round 1.
I watched Back to the Future for the first time the other day.
I know, I saw.
So it's a nice little segue in our pregame show. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you to watch it because just because you said control our own, you said our own future, but destiny, I feel like you're gonna understand this when you watch it. We should control our own density. So you Oilers fans who've seen Back to the Future, you let me know what you think about that one-liner about us controlling our own density. But something I really want to talk about, which we've been talking about in our last 5 pregame shows. Kyler Yamamoto, star of the night for me last night. This guy is 5'8", 155 pounds, and he was clowning. He was trolling some of the Colorado Avalanche players, and I love to see it. This guy left everything out on the ice, 9 points in his last 6 games, and I love the fight in Kyler Yamamoto.
The quote he had after the game was, that was one of the funner games I've played in the NHL. And yeah, I would imagine it's pretty fun to be Kyler Yamamoto right now. 4 multi-point games in his last 5. He scores again, 5 goals, he scored in 5 of his last 6 games as well. A beautiful assist on that Evander Kane goal as well. And we talked about this yesterday. He's come a long way from the guy who went 7 games without a shot on net earlier in the season. And if Kyler Yamamoto, he doesn't need to keep up 2 points every game, Not at all. But if he can keep forechecking hard, bringing that energy, being a pest to the other team, getting under their skin, and chipping into some offense once in a while, it's going to be really, really valuable for this team down the stretch and into the playoffs.
Don, in our Facebook chat, they haven't played this good in a couple of seasons. It was amazing to watch. Ryan saying Nuge coming back should improve the PK. Nathan says, let's go, boys. We got this. Keep up the great work. So lots of love for the Oilers in the chat, which I love to see, because a month ago, 2 months ago, pre-Jay Woodcroft, it was like crickets. We were really worried here.
And you're right. Like, even go back 2 weeks ago, we're sitting there being like, what was the record I put out there? I said they had to go 16-8-1 down the stretch to make the playoffs. And now you look, they have to go 11-8 to hit that playoff cut line, and you're sitting there with the way this team's rolling, and you're like, they should easily go 11-8 down the stretch here, especially when you look at the way their schedule lays out, and they might not even need to do that with how much Vegas is struggling. But a lot of love on the Twitch chat for Yamamoto as well. Wazzy15, hot take, Yamo greater than pool party. Little concerning to see Puljujarvi struggle, getting benched again against the Colorado Avalanche. So we'll see what the Oilers end up doing with him tonight. He'll play, but I wonder if maybe he won't be in the top 6 anymore. Genesis, Yamfry is stepping up finally. Another one, why does everyone want to fight Yamamoto? I'll never understand it. It's something like yesterday when him and Rantanen were next to each other. Rantanen looked like he was 3 feet bigger than Kyler Yamamoto. It was hilarious, but I mean, when you're small and you forecheck that hard and you're willing to get a little greasy and dirty in front of the net, like, that's going to tick off the other team.
I love it from Yamo. I want to see it every single game possible. I just think it's so great. Evander Kane, another guy we talked about yesterday, but now 13 goals in 24 games played. Yep. We talked about how this guy's able to find the back of the net, produce points, but man, does he find a perfect time to find the back of the net and really give the Oilers that scoring ability to find the back of the net when they really, really need it. Yeah,
and last night's game was a perfect example of that. You're down 2-1. You're in the middle of the game. You're looking for maybe a bit of a spark at that point, and you get it from Evander Kane. He's scoring at, like, whatever that would be, close to a 45-goal pace over an 82-game season. Like, that's crazy. It's been insane how productive he's been. The cap hit this year is fantastic as well. He's been a huge addition to this team. And with him and Yamamoto going, it takes a little bit of pressure off of guys like McDavid and Draisaitl to have to consistently produce as well. Like, you look at that last game, McDavid did pick up the 1 assist, but it was a second assist. Like, it really was Yamamoto, Kane driving the bus offensively.
Was it Yamo who found Kane on that? That was a sick pass.
And it was a great turnover he forced at the top of the zone, too. Like, that was a hard-working apple he got.
I totally agree. Okay, guys, this is where I want everyone watching to enter the chat. Mike Smith with 28 saves on the night. Obviously, a couple of moments out of his control, I would say, and unlucky for the Edmonton Oilers. But you got to give credit where credit's due, and producer Liam said that before we hit record on our pregame show, and I think for me now, we wanted to see Mike Smith in between the pipes have a solid game against a team that's much better than the Buffalo Sabres. We saw that, but now for me, it's consistency.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with that. Like, he had a good game against Buffalo, wasn't really tested a lot. Had a good game against Colorado when he was tested a lot. And there were some really good scoring chances there that he turned aside. And he's obviously not getting the start tonight, second of back-to-backs. But I would imagine he's getting one of the next 2 against either San Jose or Calgary. And he needs to keep showing that he can be that consistent 906 to 925 save percentage guy for the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers can't have their goaltending randomly every 5 games give up 5 or 6 goals and have an 840 save percentage. Like, you need them to consistently keep kind of bringing you just average goaltending. You're going to win games. So you want to see Mike Smith continue to build off this, hopefully. And last night was a good sign, good step in the right direction.
Anything else you want to say about that game against the Avs?
I'd be interesting to see how fired up people were about overtime.
Yeah, I was about to say OT.
Because Kadri rips off Nurse's helmet. Should have been a penalty. In a game where Edmonton took, 5 minors and Colorado only took 2. A pretty blatant missed call in OT. There's the helmet rule where Nurse has to go right off the ice. In hindsight, you would almost say, stay out there and take the penalty, make sure they don't score. But in the moment, you're just thinking, scramble. You got to get off the ice. Kane makes a bad play, losing it in his feet. Not great awareness there. And then McDavid's stuck defending a 2-on-1, which he never has to do. And it's Makar and McKinnon coming down on him. Like, what?
That was dirty.
Like,
McKinnon
what are you gonna do?
Like, this is like I could do this with my eyes closed.
Yeah, it was just a really bad break. I think mistaken Mexican It's bleeped out on the Twitch chat. He's probably calling it a shit show because that's kind of what it was in overtime, right? Like it was just bad break, turnover, and back of the net, and it's over, which is disappointing because that had the potential to be like a really entertaining overtime. Whatever. They lost out on 1 point. They got a big point in Colorado. So I still come out of that game, even though the overtime was maybe a little frustrating, you still feel generally really positive about that effort.
A series of unfortunate events is maybe what we can call it.
Like
the
that.
rated PG version. All right, guys, let's move on to our game tonight against the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars. This is your opposition report presented by Jägburger. Obviously, back-to-back games for the Oilers taking on the Stars, who are sitting in the middle of the pack of the Central Division, but they are coming off of a 3-2 win against the Caps. Joe Pavelski leading this team with 62 points so far. And Tyler, key to the game for me is the Oilers found a way to kind of step up to the Avs level. They need to come out in tonight's game and kind of have that same level of competition and not let this Stars team dictate the pace at all, because they were able to do it yesterday. It's just a matter if they can come out today with that same intensity and that same grit.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good team out there in Dallas. Obviously, they're not on Colorado's level, so if the Oilers can come out and give a similar effort like they did last night, which is tough. You're on back-to-back games. I heard they didn't get to their hotel till after 3 in the morning, so like, I mean, no morning skate today. All that helps, but still, you're on the road, second of back-to-backs. You had a late travel night. It was an exhausting overtime game trying to keep up with the Avalanche. The Oilers are really going to have to dig deep in this hockey game. Dallas, like I said, they're good, not on Colorado's level. They're 6-4-0 in their last 10. They have a -3 goal differential on the season. Their first game at home here, coming off a long 4-game road trip where they lost to Toronto. They needed OT to beat Montreal. They lost to the New York Islanders, so they kind of salvaged it with that last win against Washington, but they're definitely not playing. They're far from playing their best hockey of the year right now. So the door's open for a chance to win. Second of back-to-back, so it's always tough.
Woo woo. All right, on to the lines for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, let's get into it here for the Stars. They kind of got that youth movement on the top line, and then you mentioned it, Joe Pavelski. He's been the steady veteran. Roope Hintz, Jason Robertson, and Pavelski is their top line. All three of those guys have hit the 20-goal mark. Jason Robertson already has 30 goals on the season. He's having an unreal year. Tyler Seguin with Jacob Peterson and Denis Gurianov is the second line. Jamie Benn with Alex Radulov and Marianne Studenich, and then Radek Faksa with Luke Glendening and Michael Raffle. You can kind of tell that top line does a lot of the heavy lifting for this Dallas Stars team. In their last 10 games, the top line has combined for 13 goals. No other line for the Stars has combined for more than 4. The depth on this team falls off a cliff in a hurry. Defensive pairings, Essa Lindell with John Klingberg, Ryan Suter with Yanni Hakanpää, and Joel Hanley with our former friend Andre Sekera. Sexy Reg back in the lineup for the Stars after being put on waivers.
This is a children's show, Tyler.
Oh, Sexy Reg, that's a good nickname for him. And starting between the pipes is going to be Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars. 2.48 goals against average on the year for Jake Ottinger. In his last 5 starts, though, 17 goals against. So he's not even playing really his best hockey as of late, but he did have a .947 save percentage in the win over the Dallas Stars on the weekend. So that's what the Dallas Stars will be rolling out tonight.
And how about for our Edmonton Oilers? We do know Mikko Koskinen's getting the start, but what else? Any other changes?
Well, again, they didn't skate today, so it's kind of hard to tell here for the Oilers. McDavid, Kane, Yamamoto. I would expect that top line to stay together for Jay Woodcroft. Draisaitl, Hyman, Puljujarvi. We saw a lot of Warren Foegele up there towards the end of the game. I wonder if they keep playing Puljujarvi, or if they make the swap, they go Foegele up to the second line, dump Puljujarvi down to the third to play with Shore and Ryan. Fourth line should stay the same. Ryan McLeod with Zach Kassian and Brad Malone. I liked what Brad Malone brought to the lineup last game as well. Nurse with Ceci, Keith with Bouchard, Russell with Barry. Neither of the Oilers' 2 fresh faces are expected to join them in Dallas tonight. It sounds like Thursday will be not only the debut for Kulak, potentially the debut for Brassard, and the return of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as well. So Thursday could be a really good one on home ice against the San Jose Sharks. You mentioned it, Mikko Koskinen's getting the start. The big one for me is just going to be, what do the Oilers do with Puljujarvi tonight? I get he's fighting it right now. I love Puljujarvi, but I'm not afraid to criticize the guy. He's struggling. He's making some really poor decisions. He's been sloppy with the puck, but he was hurt for a while.
Yeah.
And I think letting him play through the slump is better for the long-term outlook on the Oilers. Right now, Fogel's probably giving you better minutes than Puljujarvi, but I think coming off an injury, you want to let Puljujarvi sort of play through this thing and find his game, because he's an important piece that you want firing on all cylinders down the stretch, and I'm not sure if putting him on the third line with Devon Shore really accomplishes much.
Well, what's this, his second game back?
Yeah, second or third game back now.
I feel like if tonight will be probably his third, right, Tyler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're game 5, 6, and he's still doing the same stuff, I think we're having a different conversation, but he was out for a while. He battled injury. Sometimes takes a little bit of time to get back into your groove, so we'll see how it
and
works
that line was good against New Jersey. Hyman, and Draisaitl, Hyman, and Puljujarvi, they found the back of the net once. Like, they can get going, and they can dominate the possession. And having those three guys who are all so big, right, and so heavy on the puck, it can be hard to knock off. I want to see them get that trio going. I'm just not sold. Like, if Nuge was playing tonight and you wanted to go Puljujarvi and Nuge and have them as your third line, I actually like that. I think that could be a good plan going forward. But I'm just not sure if giving Puljujarvi like 9 minutes on a third line with Devon Shore does a lot for him.
All right. Bet of the game presented by PointsBet. Are we the underdogs?
They are.
We are?
Oh. Plus 105. Barely underdogs. Barely.
How?
Dallas comes in, home ice advantage, second to back-to-backs. There's a few things that'll factor into that, usually from the sportsbook side of things. But our friends at PointsBet Canada do have them at plus 105 on the money line if you like the Oilers in regulation, plus 150 if you like the Oilers to cover the reverse puck line and win this game by 2 or more. It's paying out plus 260. Some goal scoring options for you. Leon Draisaitl, plus 105. I don't mind that. He's coming off a game where he didn't score. You know he's going to be hungry for one. McDavid's plus 130 as well. I kind of like going with Leon Draisaitl to find the back of the net. Producer Liam was pointing out Kyler Yamamoto minus 110 to pick up a point. That might be a decent option there as well if you're looking to throw some money on the Oilers. I think betting on them to win tonight is an okay option as well. I think they played well against Colorado. They're usually pretty good in back-to-backs, and they got their number one goalie, Mikko Koskinen, between the pipes.
I don't know. I'm feeling a little yam fry continuing the streak.
Why not?
This guy's buzzing.
He absolutely is buzzing. And Kyler Yamamoto to score, like we said, 5 goals in his last 6 games. It's that's if you like him to score the first goal, plus 1,900. Tremendous value on that one. But Kyler Yamamoto just to find the back of the net tonight, plus 275 is the payout.
What's your chat saying? What is that? What do you have open?
Some people saying they would put Puljujarvi down on the third line. Timmy says keep Pool Party on the second line. Wazzy says you can tell Draisaitl's trying to get Pool Party going. Love to see it. And I think so. Like Genesis says he just needs 1 goal to go in. And that could be it too. Yeah. Like we've seen that with Puljujarvi where confidence I think plays a big role in his game. So if Puljujarvi can find 1, might be kind of like what we're seeing with Yamamoto. That sort of snowball effect where you get 1, weight's off your shoulder. You hadn't played in a while. The injury plays into things, and you just really start getting going after that.
I'm rooting for him, guys. I'm rooting for him. Anything else, Tyler?
No, I think we're pretty good here. It should be, earlier start tonight, 6:30, so that's nice. Get a chance to go to bed earlier. I don't hate that. Nice night on the out-of-town scoreboard as well. Games for LA and Winnipeg to keep, or LA and Vegas to keep an eye on. It should be a fun night of hockey here, and hopefully a chance for the Oilers to continue to separate themselves from the Golden Knights.
All right, everyone, enjoy the game tonight. This is your giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford. Tyler, producer Liam, Caroline here with you, and we'll see you on Twitter.
Yes.
Bye.